The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Today is Monday. It is June 22nd, 2020. Thanks so much for joining us. The World Health Organization has reported 183,000 new coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours. And that's across the globe. The United States, yesterday alone, had 37,000 new cases. Brazil leading the pack with 55,000 new cases. The coronavirus is not gone. But we are pretending like in this country, we're pretending as though it is. We're pretending that we can get back to normal. I see clubs opening up, bars opening up, and it's tempting. You know, if anybody knows me, been listening to me any amount of time, you know, I love the part. I would stay out in the streets until 3 a.m. if I wasn't trying to be a responsible adult. But in the midst of all these temptations of everything opening back up, everything looking like it's getting back to normal, the fact of the matter is we're still at the very beginning. We are literally at the beginning of this pandemic. We are going to be stuck with this pandemic for some time to come. And yet America is trying to act as though nothing has changed. In fact, Chicago, the state of Illinois is moving towards stage, quote unquote, 4 of reopening, meaning that restaurants can now allow people to dine in. Bars can open up. Everything can be, the movie theaters are opening. Everything is opening back up as if nothing has happened. And yet we see thousands of people are dying every single day. We are on an uptick, a significant uptick because of the reopenings. And we will see possibly how many people have been infected because of all of the protests across the country. At some point, America is going to have to come to terms with the fact that, you know, we are literally going to have to accept whether or not we are just okay dying, having a percentage of our population dying for the sake of going to Hooters. That's really where we are. We're never going to say it expressly, right? But I'll say it for you. We are really at the point in this country where we are so addicted to consumption. We are so addicted to profits. We are so addicted to the everyday life, this rat race, that most people at the end of the day, when you sit down and really think about it, you realize how frivolous and how fatuous this entire rat race is. But yet and still, we are so addicted to it that we're willing to just say, risk it all, F it all. And if we live, we live. If we die, we die. I think that's going to be the case until we start seeing the number of deaths hit a level that we cannot keep up with. In Italy, they were having so many deaths at the beginning of this that they were putting bodies outside of the front doors of their homes and waiting for the army to come by and pick them up. Of course, there is the option of opening things up with testing all around the country, nonstop testing with everyone wearing a mask. But the politics of this country are so infantile and so stupid that we can't even do that. We can't do that without people thinking that wearing masks is an affront to their liberties. We can't do that without people thinking there's no need for the president of the United States in his rally Saturday night basically said that if we keep testing people, we're going to keep finding sick people. Right. And so he suggested that we stop testing people and we won't see the spread of the virus. The White House had to come back later on and say, oh, he was just joking. But that is how fatuous and infantile our politics have become or have been for some time in this country. And so whereas we couldn't all just, because America has shown that it does not have the political will to shut things down long enough for us to kill this virus, to send money to Americans so that they can consume from home, keep some semblance of the economy going. I mean, we have literally entered the phase of this thing where people drop dead. Oh, well, let's just keep going because I've got to go eat at Hooters and the ruling elite have to hit their quarterly profit margins. It's on both sides of the equation. Like the pressure is not just coming from the ruling elite because we've been so trained. Americans are trained like Pavlov's dog. I mean, it is an obsession that we have with consumerism, hyper-consumerism. We just have to go out and we just have to be around people. We just have to go out and spend money. We just have to go out and participate in this system that we know is killing us. And in this case, quite literally killing us. But here we are. We're at the stage where, Chicago's like, oh, F it. Let's just open back up. Everybody go to the bars. Everybody go to the restaurants. And if you live, you live. If you die, you die. This is America. And we've yet to really see the impact of COVID-19. And I hope that, maybe, let me be naively optimistic here for a minute. Maybe we are resilient enough and not, but nope. I'm not even going to go down that train of thought because you know who's dying from this? Black folks, Hispanics. People are dying. We are the people that are dying from this. And this is what white Americans, and particularly those who know the data and are like, well, I'm 9 times less likely to die than black people of this. So hell, let's open it back up and let all the black folks go out and party and if they die of it, then that's too bad. Literally the calculations that are being made across this country every single day. I don't know what else to say about this other than this is the absurdity of it all. This is the absurdity of our moment. When we looked at a crisis and we had ways of preventing it. We had ways of preventing this crisis from being as bad as it's going to become. We had ways we could have literally shut down the country for 2 weeks. If everyone had just sheltered in place for 2 weeks with significant testing and quarantining, we could have killed it and then gone back to normal with a new normal with wearing masks. But here we are, I think, month four of this. And we're at the stage where we're like, you know what? I got to go and get some KFC. I want to sit down and have some fine dining at Golden Corral. Also that we can get the fix of being out and spending money. And also that the ruling elite, they're pushing this so that they can keep hitting those quarterly profit margins. I don't have anything positive to say about this other than I hope that if you're listening to me, that you are still sheltering in place. And if you are an essential worker, I hope that you treat everyone that comes near you like they have the plague, because it's quite a possibility that they do. Assume that everyone has it. Keep your distance from everyone. I cannot speak to anybody out there. I can't speak to anyone who's not listening to me. Anyone who's not taking this seriously, I can't do anything about it, but maybe I can convince you to still take this very seriously because I don't like the odds. You know what I mean? It's like if I don't like the chances that I have, and I don't like them for you either. So it's not worth the risk. Of course, I would love to go back and sit at a bar and smoke some hookah and look at all the pretty women walking by. And, of course, I would love to do all those things that I probably shouldn't have been doing in the first place. But you know what? I'm grateful that this moment has come so that I can sit my black ass at home and take care of my family and take care of myself and stop giving all of my money away to a system that doesn't appreciate me in the first place, that's there to do nothing but to take every single dime and leave me with nothing. And now the people want me to go back out into the system, give them all my money, all of my consumption, with the risk of giving them my life. Okay. So if you're listening to me, I hope that you continue to take this seriously, even though the federal government has not, the state government is not, Democrats are not, Republicans are not. The leadership of this country has abdicated all duty and responsibility to caring for the people. And so we have to come out from among them and take care of ourselves and realize that this isn't going anywhere anytime soon, no matter how much they put something out there that's enticing. I know you want to go back out, but shelter in place as long as you can. All right. So Saturday, Donald Trump had his rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he did not get the numbers of people that he expected to get, partly. And, I think there's a couple of reasons, right? Everyone's trying to figure out why is it that it wasn't, it was so empty that they ended up shutting down the overflow. They shut that down really quickly before the event even began. And then you had the top row of the arena completely, the top section completely empty. And everyone's trying to figure out why. We know for certain that there were thousands of TikTok teens and adults who reserved tickets. And those tickets that they reserved added quickly to the number and made everyone start assuming that there were going to be 1 million people trying to get there. At least that's what Donald Trump. So Donald Trump and his team, they did the dumb thing. Like you never really promote how many people are going to show up until afterwards, right? Because if you have an open seating event and you tell them that 1 million people are trying to get there, then most people are going to be like, hell no, I'm not going out into that kind of crowd anyway. That's in the best of times. But Donald Trump and his crew were like, they just had to have something to brag about. And so I think partly it's because, maybe it is the case that Republicans, they love their bigotry, but they don't love it enough to really put their lives at risk. Not 1 million people, not the 1 million people that they were bragging about. So I think it's a combination of all the above. But really, I really admire. I've said really at least a dozen times in this one segment alone. What the hell is wrong with me? It's the coffee. But I absolutely, there you go. That's my substitute. I absolutely admire what TikTok did. I think it's a level of activism that can't be underestimated. I think it can't be downplayed because at the end of the day, the combination of all those forces really saved some lives. There's still going to be people who get sick from COVID-19 from going to that. And yeah, I am concerned about conservatives. I don't really mean it when I say, well, let them all cough on each other and let them die. I don't really mean that. But if it happens, it happens. but because the teens put this plan in motion, they start spreading it on TikTok. It inflated the numbers, artificially inflated the numbers. Donald Trump and his squad started bragging about the numbers. You couple all of those factors together, and you had, I think, about 7,000 people who showed up instead of 1 million. I mean, we all knew 1 million wasn't coming. Donald Trump didn't. Donald Trump was really mad when he got off the helicopter off of Marine One. He looked so dejected. He looked so disappointed. He had flown all the way to Tulsa. He had put his life on the line. And like 7,000 people showed up. What's more, 6 of his advanced team, 6 of the squad that goes out and makes sure that the entire arena and everything's set up properly, all the protocol, everything, they make sure everything is in place. 6 of his advanced team tested positive for COVID-19. So I don't know, man. It's just that's all I really want to say about that. It is a hat tip to the teens of TikTok and all the adults who have participated in artificially inflating those numbers, because I think ultimately at the end of the day, you did help save some lives. And that means a whole lot more than some ridiculous rally that Donald Trump wanted to have. Yep. All right. It dawned on me that last night, and I tweeted it out, and I want to speak about it for a second. America, we are so propagandized. I mean, from the very beginning, we are so programmed. We are not free in this country. We are not. They spend entirely too much money convincing us of what we should believe, what we should desire, what we should want, what we should purchase, where we should want to go, billions, trillions of dollars have been spent in convincing you to like what you like. You don't even know why you like what you like most of the time. You can't even cut to the core. Can we honestly say why we like what we like when billions of dollars are spent every quarter to convince you that this is what you want? And I'm not just talking about propagandization in the form of propaganda, in the form of consumerism. That's one part of American propaganda. The other one is like the idea of us actually being free. The idea that we actually have democracy, that in itself is propaganda. Do we really have a democracy when the people are crying out for this system to do something to help us and our system completely ignores us? Like, there's study after study that shows that the will of the people is ignored in this country. And the will of corporations That's what's done. That's what's carried out. And yet you have people running around here always talking about American liberty and the right to vote and how important voting is and all this, that, and the third. I get the sentiment. But when our options are between two parties that are going to essentially do the same thing, both of them are pushing us to go back out into this pandemic. Neither of them are trying to do anything to help the working class of this country, the people who are living paycheck to paycheck. Do you really think you have a choice? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, and this is what I was explaining on Nomiki Kant's show. There's a baseline in this country, and that baseline absolutely sucks. The baseline in this country it's pretty bad for the majority of Americans. Living like we are living in a constant state of stress. Sure, you have a nicer home than your grandparents had 100 years ago. But the level of stress that you have just to maintain this lifestyle, just to maintain a basic lifestyle in this country, it is so stressful just to maintain. And yet, everyone thinks that the American dream is the it is actually a thing. That is, we have been so indoctrinated with this idea that if all we have to do is work harder, everything will be all right. When in fact, our system is designed that no matter how hard you work, there's going to be somebody there to drain everything out of you. And at the end of the day, you have nothing. That's the reality of America. And yet and still, we go around thinking that America is exceptional. That's because they have spent trillions of dollars to convince you that America is exceptional and that this is the best that we can do. We literally believe, this is how deep the propaganda is. Most people honestly do not believe that we can or will ever do better or that we even deserve better. Most people in this country are so conditioned to accept whatever this government does without any question, without any fight, simply because that's what we've been doing. I mean, this work ethic, this Protestant work ethic has been so interwoven into our psyche that we actually believe that the only reason people are poor is because they didn't work hard enough. That's some serious propaganda. It's at a level of conditioning. You have to understand, like, every single step of your life has been designed to make you a good cog in the American empire. That's it. Everything that you have been taught, everything that you were taught in school has been for nothing other than for you to be a good cog in the machine of American empire. Not to question it. Never to question it. You see what happens when we question it? They roll out the police state. Those of us who push, it takes so much. It takes so much to undo all of this programming. And then I look around and I'm like, damn, we haven't even put a dent in this. I'm not disillusioned in our fight. I just really we got to call a thing what it is. We have been conditioned and programmed and propagandized to accept this country the way it is. And the way it is something that serves a handful of people at the expense of the entire globe. Not just at the expense of Americans, of poor Americans, but at the expense of the entire globe. And it starts early. It starts so young. My 7-year-old, we put up the trampoline and all it took was a week. It took a week. It took a week before she was ready for something else. And and I'm like, well, why do you want that? She wants a violin now. She wants a violin. Not because she has this deeply rooted passion to be a violin player. No, it's not because she has some unexplainable pull, that's something that's pulling her towards a violin. No, she wants a violin because she saw it on the Disney Channel. And I'm like, well, you got a trampoline. Like, trampoline costs about as much as a decent violin. Go ahead and jump. Jump. Give me my money's worth. And I just saw the conditioning. The conditioning begins so early. But here's the bait and switch. When we're young, we think money is going to be there for us to buy toys. And it is. It could be. But when you get older, money is there for you to just survive. Like they condition you to be a consumer because of all of like how enticing it is. Like there's a physical sensation when you open up that package. Like we are all conditioned to be consumers, thinking that we are going to be able to spend our money on consumption, when at the end of the day, most of us are just spending our money on surviving. That's the bait and switch. You thought you were going to be able to buy toys when you got to pay your landlord. You thought you were going to be able to buy cars. You got to pay for food. You thought that you were going to be able to do whatever you dreamed about doing with your money, when at the end of the day, they were conditioning you to go to work to give them all of your money just to survive. And we think that this system is the best that we can do. That is the result of trillions of dollars of propaganda conditioning us, conditioning you, so that you believe that this is the best that we have, that this is the best we can do. We are so propagandized in this country, it's not even funny. When you actually believe, millions of people across this country actually believe that the police are here to protect us. Like if the police were not present, that everything would fall apart. And if we even defund the police, that everything would fall into chaos. When this is literally not the case. I made the argument plenty of times. I don't have to make an argument again, but the too long didn't read. Here's a short version of it. Your community is not safe because the police patrol it. Your community is safe because you have enough resources to not have crimes of desperation, survival, or opportunity. But yet you, at the core of most people, they have this unnerved, this nervous, this anxiety is what it is about the possibility of the police being defunded. That's because you've been propagandized. That's because intuitively you think the only reason we have peace is because the police are there. And instead, the reality is we have chaos because the police are here. We have chaos. We have brutality. We have murder. We have the police state because the police have drained off and siphoned off trillions of dollars in wealth. I mean, literally, this is not an exaggeration. $115 billion a year, 10 years, you're already over $1 trillion of wealth that we have poured into a policing system that abuses the masses, that particularly brutalizes and kills Black people generally with impunity, with the rarest of occasions of them being held accountable. We poured trillions of dollars into that. And we honestly believe that we can't live without it. We Americans honestly believe that because the police have this figurative gun to our heads, and in some cases a literal gun, but they have a figurative gun to our head telling us that we can't survive without them. And we believe it. And we give them all of our money. And they operate in our communities with impunity. And the poorer your community, the more impunity they have. Because you can't afford to actually have an attorney to cause them some grief, you don't have the relationships down at City Hall to cause them some grief. And so the people who are not the recipients of this, who are not on the receiving end of this police state, are the people who have enough money to not need them. And they have enough money to keep them in check. And yet it's the poor people around here who are scrambling, trying to figure out, well, what does defund the police mean? It means stop giving them all of our money to abuse us. What type of Nightingale syndrome complex is this? What type of, we are giving our abusers the biggest portion of our budget domestically. Internationally, we give the global abusers the biggest budget of all, America's military. And yet, the irony of it is, I've been thinking about this and great. The irony of it is the American military, we embrace socialism. We absolutely embrace socialism because the American military is the greatest example of socialism. But how do we employ it? How do we deploy it? We deploy it for the purposes of maintaining America's empire. So we are more than happy to spend obscene amounts of dollars to provide living, housing, food, health care, child care, development, education. We will spend trillions of dollars if those dollars are going towards training soldiers how to expand America's empire. But if you're not serving in America's empire, then you've been conditioned to simply accept as normal living every day, hand to mouth, just paycheck to paycheck, struggling, scratching, and surviving because, well, the government can't, the government isn't supposed to do anything for you. We literally, like, what? I know I might be being a little redundant, but it's an idea that's in my head. I generally only do this during my Patrons episode where I'll just go on a stream of consciousness and just talk it out until I flesh it out. But I really want you to understand the derangement that they have invested trillions of dollars, hundreds of trillions of dollars into conditioning the American people to simply accept that we will spend trillions of dollars on policing and on the military, but we barely spend a dime on taking care of the poor or alleviating poverty. Not just taking care of the poor. We have the ability to get rid of poverty. We have the ability to get rid of homelessness. We have enough wealth in this country to ensure that every single person has their baseline needs met. And we simply accept as a matter of fact that should not be provided by the government, but instead the government should be providing trillions of dollars to the police state and trillions of dollars to America's military and empire. How did they convince you that was normal? How did they convince all of these people to simply accept? Well, once people stop accepting it, what they do is they realize, well, we can't spend enough money to convince them of it, so we just take the weapons that we have paid for. They take the tax dollars that you and I have paid, the state, the city, the federal government, and they use it to brutalize us. They use it to crush us into submission. And so we have been funding our own oppression. In America, we have been funding our own oppression with our tax dollars and our consent to be governed. And it just doesn't make sense to anybody that giving this government the right, the social contract that we have with them, giving them the consent to be governed, does it make sense that we allow them to then take that consent along with our tribute and use it to brutalize us? But that came as a result of trillions of dollars in propaganda.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions.
And here we go. Very special welcome to all of the people who make this show possible, our patrons. Tom Samuel, thank you for becoming a patron. Lonnie Osmond, thank you for becoming a patron. Amy Scott, thank you for becoming a patron. Kelvin, thank you for becoming a patron. Adam Cavalin, thank you for becoming a patron. Brian Pitts, thank you for becoming a patron. Very special welcome to Vladislav Moore, Matt Marcianic, Brittany, thank you for becoming a patron. Nathan Roche, thank you for becoming a patron. Ithio McFarland, thank you for becoming a patron. Sarah London Erickson, thank you for becoming a patron. Nat and Ismay, thank you for becoming a patron. Easy Webb, thank you for becoming a patron. Ken Hadelson, thank you for becoming a patron. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/BPD Show, where you get twice the content, uncut, unfiltered, unedited interviews, none of the commercial advertisements, and you give me the ability to speak truth to power, whether the powerful like it or not.
Welcome back to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Yeah. So, before I finish up today's episode, I want to thank everyone who came out to the Patron party Friday night. We had a great time. I mean, we danced, we laughed, we talked, we drank. It was really fun. It was really fun. So thanks to all the patrons. I absolutely love getting a chance to spend time and get to know about you all and getting to know like what makes you tick in addition to politics. So we'll do that again. I'm not sure if we're going to do it every 2 weeks. We might do it once a month. Just to give everybody a break, something to look forward to instead of doing it so often, but I'll keep you posted. We'll definitely keep that going. Ultimately, what I want for you is the same thing that I want for me, and that is I want us to be free. I want us to be free, and we cannot be free if we don't recognize how much money has been spent controlling our minds. And it is not, we have been so conditioned that it's hard to even recognize the programming. It's hard to accept. But I think one of the ways, the best place to start, if you've never, maybe this is your first time ever hearing this, maybe this is the first time you accepting, because here's how successful the propaganda is. We all think that we're woke, and our wokeness benefits a particular side. And that particular side is itself a part of the ruling structure in this country. That's it. And it's not just politically, it's also economically. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you want what you want? Why do you have to have that thing that you just have to have? Why do you even like the things that you like? Why do you even desire the things that you desire? Have you taken a minute to ever wonder what you would actually desire and want out of life if it was not for trillions, hundreds of trillions of dollars over the years going into making you want the same thing that everybody? Why is it we all have the same exact desires? We all want the same type of thing. We all want the same That's because trillions of dollars have been spent in conditioning us so that we could be good cogs in the American empire. But the one thing they cannot control, they can't control a free mind. They cannot control a mind that has been liberated. And so I just want you to find that same liberation. Patrons, stay tuned. Everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.